say, well, I hope to also see you all at Town Hall tonight at 5:30 to 6:30. Gonna keep it to an hour.
Real short.
We're gonna keep it short. If you can't physically be here, we will also have it on Zoom, as you can see here. And we'll have recordings and stuff too, although it's not the same. Just gonna say it, gotta be here, or online here. And yeah, it'll be just like how Show and Tell is a great chance to share what you're working on and what you've been thinking about and questions you've had and stuff like that. Town Hall is a great way to do that within the context of the whole community, almost like an indie hall checkup. Like, how are we doing? What do we want to do more of? What do we want to do? I guess not less of, because we want to do more things.
What do we need to prohibit?
But yeah, and it's a great chance also just like be around a lot of people that you might not see all that often, because generally folks are pretty heads down while they're here. And it's a good time, and it's only an hour. And afterwards, there's a block party outside, as well as Donnie's album release party for Bird Magic. So lots of good things to do. But yes, I'll pass over to Adam.
Thanks. Okay, so if you haven't been to Show and Tell before, we usually ask a few members, 3 members or so, to come and introduce themselves and something they're working on or something they care about. We also use this as an opportunity to invite our neighbors to come and join us, so we can introduce ourselves and have them say hi to us. So what I think we'll do is start with one of our own, Gwenn. Gwenn Patterson is holding a dog, and I feel like that has some to do with what you're going to talk about for Show and Tell.
Yeah, so this is Mr. David Bowie. We call him Bowie, and he's my service dog, which means I'm very lucky and I get to bring him with me pretty much everywhere. Scurvy little lover puppy that he is. Yeah, I don't know what to talk about.
Yeah, well, so this is certainly a thing. We don't see a lot of dogs at Indie Hall. So how and when did Bowie become a service dog?
So Bowie, I feel like Bowie is like all of my good karma wrapped up in like a furry little package. So Bowie was actually a rescue, and I was like, I'm determined I'm gonna rescue a dog and train him, and I don't care how hard it's gonna be, and I know it's gonna be really difficult. And then I got him, and it ended up being super easy. I think he probably was already partially trained somehow when I got him. He seemed to know what the best was and everything. And then I got him certified, and that was 3 years ago. And yeah, he's been with me ever since. He just doesn't like the planes. He doesn't like the planes too much, but he'll soldier up.
Does he sit on your lap in the plane?
He sits under the chair and does this.
Like he's in prowl mode.
He's in like, no, he's in like flat against the like floor, like flat kind of like spread eagle. Like no. No. Yeah,
How do you get a dog certified?
so they have to be able to perform like 3 tasks to serve or help you. And then you go to places that like kind of like are like ABA places, and they do the tasks. They have to be able to do the tasks on command. Like if you were to go to an airport and they're like, I don't believe you, show us.
What are the tasks?
Yeah.
Bowie.
Yeah.
Bowie's kind of crazy. Bowie, he could actually remind me when to take certain like medications.
Whoa.
And he yells at me if I haven't in like a long enough period of time. Like if it's been like 12 hours, he'll start like barking at me.
Is that one of the things they make you do at the airport? Where you're like, wait 11 hours?
No, he does this weird circling thing. He does a circling thing and like certain like leaning motions and activities and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Those are the kinds of things that you can like show.
Can you show us? We don't believe you. We're an airport.
Pretend we're the airport.
The role of the TSA will be played by Sam.
I'm stern.
Start with a smile.
How does
He's got his ball.
How does he know if you haven't eaten in 12 hours? He's paying attention.
I don't know. I think it's like a mixture of like he's like kind of like just got to train primer in him and like maybe I get woozy kind of thing. Because I know when I get like foggy flares, like I'll get kind of out of it and he'll be able to just sort of guide me. Like if we're walking around, I just kind of go on autopilot and he gets us home, which is great because those can be kind of scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like there have definitely been times I've been like walking in the city and just kind of like shut off, and then like Bowie just get us home. And he does it. Yeah, he's great.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And he can tell when you're taking medication.
He knows like which times of day it's supposed to be taken.
And he can tell the motions you're doing that are medication.
I guess, yeah.
That's amazing.
I think he knows the little like coin thing that I use.
Sounds like you must have gone through a lot of changes.
Aww.
Sorry.
David Bowie. Yeah, why is his name David Bowie?
His name is David Bowie because he's got a split colored eye. And when we went, and actually my ex and I got him together, but when we went, we're like, oh, Bo, like that was originally his name, like Bo, our Mr. David Bowie dog, and we're just like,
Bowie.
well, thank you for renaming our dog for a Ziggy Star dog. I mean, how can we not?
Oh, Ziggy Star dog.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you got the best.
Yeah, it was like I couldn't not kind of thing. Like, and he's from Bowling Green, Kentucky. And as I was telling Adam earlier, he couldn't climb stairs. He didn't know what stairs were when we first got him. Yeah, because I guess down south they don't have a lot of stairs. So him trying to like climb downstairs when I first got him was like this like awkward, like it looked like something out of a cartoon. It was really funny.
That's a weird but true thing. I lived in Texas, and there are not a lot of people that have multi-level homes.
There's so much space.
Yeah, right. They just spread out.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no basements. Basements not a thing that exists down there.
Or snow. When I was 19 and college, my dorm mate saw snow for the first time and lost his mind.
Oh yeah.
And he just like ran into the snow and jumped into it.
Maybe 6 or 7 years ago, Super Bowl was in Dallas, and it had one of the worst blizzards they've ever had down there. And they're not prepared for snow, so there's no snow plow. So everybody got real screwed. Yeah. Where did you adopt Bowie?
I adopted him, I guess it was like 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Where from?
Do you know, it used to be Operation Ava at Baird Poplar, and now it Saves Me. Yeah, that's where he's from.
Good choice.
Yeah, I like it. It's nice.
Yeah, we used to allow dogs in Indian Hall, I guess, but since we moved, I guess it's a question of maybe after 10 years or so.
Yeah. Yeah, it might
Yeah.
just be that. But I know Colonial Penn right now, they're sort of shifty-eyed. But the jacket, the service dog jacket changes everything.
He actually, today, finally, yeah, we got to meet Sharon downstairs.
Yeah.
He finally asked to meet him, and they shook hands, and they're friends finally.
Aw.
So I
Yeah.
feel like we like made a big accomplishment,
That's
because
the
before
best.
she always kind of gave me an eye when I would come in, and like, I was like, oh, she hates me now. But now we're friends again, and she likes Bowie.
How
So.
can you resist?
Can you show us your favorite trick? You know, the one.
Oh yeah. This is one thing. Okay, so Bowie, sit. Sit. Can you kiss?
He doesn't even lick. He actually like.
He does. No tongue in this family. Anyone, all of you can just do the same thing. Do it for you. So, if you ever need a kiss or some loving, Mr. David Bowie's the one to come to.
That is very David Bowie.
And he's just as androgynous as like there are no qualms here.
He smells good.
That's amazing. That's so cool. Anybody have any other questions for Gwenn the human or Bowie the star dog?
Can I
That's so
babysit if you ever need to?
Sure.
Babysitter.
Right.
Well, she can take everything.
That's I know.
Here, I have a question for Bowie. Bowie. Are you a good boy? You're a good boy, huh? Okay, go back to mommy. Yes, yes. Okay, bye. Thank you.
Today I said he looks
He's like,
like,
I could almost be
I was gonna take
getting-
Look at that.
Yeah, he's so happy that he's getting to come here every day. Like,
that's the
the
best.
more people, the better for him.
Oh, hi, I know, I need to come here.
That's the
Yeah,
best.
you're like-
Thank you, Gwen.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks.
Yay.
Everyone come say hi to Bowie. He's happy to say hi to everyone.
We also have someone that we're saying hello to for the first time, Dylan. Dylan comes from Philly Food Works, and we were introduced by Meg Whitholm. If you don't know Meg, Meg is, she's currently one of the co-hosts of Night Owls on Tuesday nights, and she is the owner-operator of the vending machine. It's not like a local, it's all local foods.
Oh, and she'll also be at Town Hall
And she'll be at Town Hall.
tonight to talk about the vending machine.
That's right. There's an uncertain fate of the vending machine. So she wants to talk to everyone about how what we could do with it in the future.
Yeah.
So Dylan.
Hi.
Where's your dog?
I brought blueberries. They don't do tricks, but they taste good. Yeah, so I started this company, Philly Food Works, in 2014, and originally got into the whole all local food stuff through doing urban farming in West Philly, and was a urban studies major, but then quickly was kind of like, I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with this degree. I'm going to get a business degree, and then spent all of my time doing not really business-related things necessarily, or at least in the conventional sense. But so started this urban farm, and kind of with like the issue is there isn't enough like good local food being grown, and so we're going to try to create more access to it. And kind of what we found was actually there was a lot of really good local food being grown, but the issue was farmers had a lot of trouble delivering, getting the food to people. So we kind of, the nonprofit that we were running the urban farm with is still there and still doing that, but then me and two people from there started this business, which was really focused on essentially being a middleman, but working directly with farms and distributing their food all over the city. And it's interesting, like the kind of like tech piece that's, when we started it, we thought we were starting kind of a food retail company, and so we part of what we were set up to do was like, oh, we're going to create this supply chain and do all these things, and kind of kept stumbling upon like, oh wait, well there actually are a ton of courier services in the city, so maybe we don't need to be the ones delivering the food, or we can actually piggyback our deliveries onto other people delivering, mushrooms from Kennett Square or something like that. So maybe we don't need to own the trucks, and are finding more and more really the piece that we do in the system that I think is adding the most value and helping out the farmers the most is running the front end marketplace. Mm-hmm. So we started, and it's just interesting as like technology is really getting into like the local food world. So we started using a company called Farmigo, which is very similar to Good Eggs. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that. We're started by someone from Google and got like a fair amount of money in the local food world, not the technology world, but several million, and started this company, and we were using their software. And they actually have an interesting story because they were providing a software service for essentially like CSAs, which are, if you're not familiar with it, it's where you sign up and you get a box of random vegetables every week. And people are kind of, it's sort of fun and kitschy and you get to explore different things, but ultimately a lot of people are like, I don't like kale, and you just give me kale 3 weeks in a row. So that was actually what when we created Philly Food Works, we wanted to create more of like e-commerce experience that people are used to with Amazon or something. So we still have subscriptions, but you can customize them. So like we'll upload, 10 items in your box or whatever it is based on your subscription. And then you can go on, see what's coming, delete items, add items from our whole marketplace. But so we started out with Farmigo, and they actually, they tried to develop the retail end and try to own more of the supply chain, but without really any experience in food. And they had, they were getting these like high-level, C-level people from these different tech companies to come and make like the most up-to-date warehouse technology for a food company. But they didn't really know what they were doing from the food end. And ultimately, both Good Eggs and Farmigo, which had expanded across the entire country, being in cities like LA and New York and San Francisco and New Orleans, Seattle, and both of them basically crumbled, which, now they're kind of like shells of what they were. And I guess the only areas that really could support them were San Francisco, because they're both still in San Francisco. But yeah, it's just sort of funny, and from someone coming in from the food world is like, haha, take that. It's not so easy. And now we work with, and now we work with a company that's sort of like I would call them like kind of a mom and pop software company, out of Denver or out of Colorado, and they have a platform. They started out being like a delivery, like software for almost like deliveries, but they noticed that all of these food companies, like similar type of companies to Philly Foodworks, would employ their services. And so it's pretty interesting. Like they have they basically have like a template, and then they have all these different customizable features, and then you can adapt. There's sort of a marriage of you adapting their features to your system, but then also you have to adapt your system to their features. But they can create basically a customized system for you. So that's been cool. We transitioned over to them in February, which was kind of a nightmare. I feel like maybe you guys all have experience transitioning software. It's really hard. But now it's running a lot better. And if you check out like our marketplace, like it kind of stands up with a lot of those, with a lot of the like bigger online e-commerce places. And something that we're exploring now is like, we're really figuring out this like front end, like managing a market, and even like the marketing part of that. So like what kinds of products do well, for instance, like we're finding like people actually are really excited about like large bundles of items. So if we sell you $100 worth of product at one time through like, $100 worth of local meat, we can give you a $20 discount. And that's actually going over really well. And so things like that, and wondering like, maybe we should be really focusing on this front end and actually there's so many food hubs and places that are working through the supply chains and doing all of that, but don't have this front end piece. And like maybe that's the way to scale. Whereas before it was like, yeah, we're gonna have to build this brick and mortar place in all these different cities. And that's kind of what Farmigo and Good Eggs did. And yeah, that's part's hard.
So who are your main customers? Individuals, stores, restaurants? Who do you serve?
It's all individuals. There's a couple of like relationships that we have that we'll work through, but it's basically all individuals.
Is that by design or by habits?
I think initially we started out like that was who we were serving, was like the retail customer. We tried to get into like, well, we have all these blueberries, we might as well just sell blueberries to this restaurant. They need blueberries. And just realizing that like it's a completely different system. So they need a different ordering system. They're ordering in cases, not quarts.
Mm-hmm.
So that means we have to track inventory differently, and like just messed up so many accounts that it was like, we can't do this anymore. So the ones that we do will just be like, look, just shop our retail store and here's a global discount. Everything you buy is 30% off.
Got it. Okay.
So yeah, and it was cool talking to Adam, because a big part of what we're all about is like the community aspect of food. And food is just like so crucial to, family, like meals coming together, like name a holiday that doesn't incorporate food in some way, and trying to,
Ramadan?
Yom Kippur.
The irony about it, of course, is that Ramadan is about appreciating. That is true.
I don't know if that's ironic, but
anyways, and so it was about like food, community, world of anonymity, and know your farmer, go to this coffee shop and know the barista that is like giving you your box, and then you meet this random person who's also picking up their box, and even if it's just like hi, you have just shared that experience. So anyways, the reason I was saying that is because sometimes like our cafes, they'll have accounts and they'll.
And then how do you deliver the food? You just go through your regular parcel service like a UPS or a FedEx?
We work directly with a delivery company that's called Sir Lancelot.
Okay.
Yeah.
What?
Just a run-of-the-mill courier that probably specializes in
Killing
coolers.
harpies? Sir
Were you being
Lancelot?
like hit really hard with all these like other middlemen? Because you're like trying to be a middleman, but then you got like your app developer middleman and delivery person. I mean, is that like really eating up all your money?
I mean, it's not really, and I think that we have an idea of what we want our distribution to be as like a percent of sales, and so then we kind of like make sure that it stays within that. I think actually there's so many in the conventional food system. There's like so many middlemen of like it goes to this packing house, and then it goes from the packing house to like a distributor, and then from a local distributor, and so I'm not dealing with that. But I think ultimately like what we found is that when we started it, we were doing everything ourselves, and trying to start 8 businesses at one time is a lot harder, than running just one business. And so we were running a distribution company and a supply chain management, whatever. And actually, we're saving money by outsourcing some of those things.
Do you do like email marketing, or how do you like get customers?
It's like a number of things. I mean, we definitely do a lot of stuff like through our pickup sites. So our pickup sites are kind of like mouthpieces for a service, and we'll focus on like getting a preschool on board, and a preschool will tell all the parents and things like that. Do some like social media stuff. We do some events. Friend referral is always like huge for every small business. Brochures, things like that.
While you're on the subject of pickup sites, how does that work? You mentioned there's potential that a place like Indie Hall itself could be a pickup site. How's that function?
So it's pretty easy. The way our market works is you have essentially until 10 a.m. the day before delivery to update any order or cancel any order or whatever. So as a pickup site, you just have your days. Let's say it's Thursdays. Every Thursday, we would deliver to Indie Hall. And then you would have until Wednesday at 10 a.m. update anything. And then we bring a box with all of the items you selected with your name on it. And we do like meat and dairy, but they come in these insulated cold sleeves that are used for shipping like hearts and organs. So they work pretty well. Yeah, we sell like 12 hours. We're good.
So how'd you meet Adam? Do you work in this building, or did you guys just meet at some
I
social
met-
scene?
So
A sock hop.
Yeah.
I met Meg through an improv class.
Oh.
And then improv class, and then we were just like, oh, we're both in this food world or whatever, and we're actually going to start carrying her products. And so, and then Meg introduced me to Adam, and now that I'm hearing that the snack machine is in jeopardy, I'm wondering if maybe in the back of Meg's mind she was going, Philly Foodworks can deliver 1-2 potato chips and popcorn.
Oh, that'd be cool.
So aside from the mental image I now have of a heart going through UPS,
Or a heart not being able to go through UPS because instead it's carrying one of his steaks.
it seems like a service like this would be really instrumental in alleviating deserts. I don't know if that's something you guys would look into.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's when we first launched it. I mean, right, this is coming out of like urban farming in West Philly, and like a huge part of that was community development around food access, and that was like a core part of our mission. But what we soon realized was that like the premium that you ended up charging for local food, because like the horrible part of the food system is that like the reason why food is so cheap is because you don't pay people to pick the blueberries enough or whatever, and that's so we were kind of like, like we're really going to focus on like the supply side and the farmers and supporting those local farmers. And so like our prices are pretty high relative to like what people can afford who are living in poverty, like where food deserts exist.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the sort of thing that could be subsidized. Like if you had like a charitable arm.
Yeah.
try and go for a 401c.
That would be awesome. I think also like the way I see it too is like
It would be cheaper to tie something like do your service into that area rather than like saying building the infrastructure to get supermarkets and get trucks to go to those areas. And
absolutely. I mean, you could have like corner store could have 7 boxes of produce.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Tie up to a
the thing
bodega or
is-
something like that.
Ideally, I think, so I worked over in West Philly for like, 4 years or something, and like realizing like a huge issue with food access isn't necessarily like accessibility to the actual product, but is also just like are people hanging out and cooking meals together, or like are people knowing is there like are people cooking together more and so many things like that. And so like we started a farmer's market at this farm, and like the story is I was going to tell is like I started Dylan, okay, the nonprofit's like, yeah, Dylan, go out there and do this farmer's market, okay, so I'm setting up my my stand in the middle of the hood, and no one's really coming, whatever, and then started working with a bunch of block captains who are all there, and then they started running the farmer's market, and suddenly it was like people started coming up, they started hey, actually if you don't cook that for as long, it's actually a lot better for you, and like there was all of that.
yeah.
So I think the coolest thing would be to work with an organization that was like, I mean, you just deliver the boxes to them, and then they're doing it. But I think partnering.
Well, I mean, that's what you're focusing on, the supply side.
Yeah.
So yeah, partnering with organizations that already exist in those areas that people know how to reach out. I think that seems like a natural fit.
And we have heroes.
So many. What's the biggest problem you're facing at the moment? Biggest challenge?
I think right now the biggest challenge we're facing, I guess, is really on sales and marketing end. So I think maybe there's a couple. One is that we're still dealing with like software problems, and we kind of decided, hey, we're going to move away from being more of this conventional CSA. We're more of like this online farmers market sort of thing. But it's funny, it confuses people because like if you go to our website, people are like, wait, I don't get it. Is it a CSA? Is it this farmers market? I don't think we've done a good enough job transitioning, like repositioning ourselves. And so we're trying to sort of like get like a lot of analytics on our website, see where people are getting confused, where people are falling off, and then like redesign the front end, and then maybe even some of our services so that everything is more streamlined. So I'd say that that's like a huge problem. And then the other thing is like, how do you create a scalable acquisition model that doesn't rely on just like bidding $6 per click on Google or something like that. And yeah, that's definitely been difficult. When we started, it was like all these people are signing up and it's so great, and like now like our signups are really they're just like, it's not like every month is more and more and more. It's like they're just kind of like, yep, we got like 50 people a month, 60 people a month, it's cool. So I think trying to figure out how to build like a scalable acquisition model would be.
Can you scale with the demand going though? If you did some campaign that realistically increased your numbers per month, would you be able to cover
Tenfold
that?
increase, could you stomach 500?
Or is it some reasonable step at?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely have a lot of capacity right now, where we could double the orders we were doing, and it wouldn't be a big deal. The other thing we're kind of saying is like, like, I don't know, if you're familiar with Lancaster Farm Fresh.
Yeah.
You hear that? Yeah. So they are huge. Really, they've gotten to be a really big company, and they do like a conventional CSA model, and then they also do a lot of wholesale distribution. And like they have like they built like 100,000 square foot warehouse with all these really state of the art warehouse, and it's kind of like, those guys are really good at packing vegetables. Maybe they should just pack the boxes, and maybe we could run their front end web store, and now people could add, and so I think that like that's sort of where I see the future of Philly Food Works going.
Cool.
Yeah.
Are you exclusively membership based, or can you do kind of a la carte ad hoc?
So you have to have an account to do it, but it doesn't cost to be a member.
Right.
So like signing up is free, and then you can just so you don't have to do a subscription. Like probably about 27% of our orders every month are just people that's just, you know, I want blueberries and I want this steak and I want these Cinnabons from this place in Toronto.
And
Yeah,
then how
get them with the
much?
Cinnabons.
Steak, blueberries, and Cinnabons.
That's a good dinner.
This is a good idea. So this is maybe something we can talk about even more at town hall, but like maybe perhaps we can get back into doing potlucks and meal days where we used to do big meals in the hall later in the evenings where we'd make something together. Maybe there's some tag team effort that we'd have.
Yeah,
for guys.
I mean, so part of as a thank you to all of our pickup sites, you can either get a box of vegetables every week or a $65 credit in our online market every month. And it's been a great way for things like that, where suddenly there's like this account where somebody can go on there and just, you know, every show and tell, they buy $65 of bread and cheese and blueberries and Cinnabons. Yeah.
That's
So it's
very
kind
cool.
of a fun.
So you have a bunch of registered users, about, you know, what is it, 70% are monthly recurring subscriptions. What's your, and then the remaining like 27% are all ad hoc. What are your, do you have a CRM strategy? What's your average like churn rate or relatively close churn rate?
Yeah. So our average orders, since switching over to our new software, our average orders have gone up from like $42 to $45 or $47. So, you know, that $5 increase is like pretty substantial. But what's interesting is that the percent of people getting deliveries, the number of deliveries per month has gone down, that people are receiving. So that's like definitely a challenge for us. We seem to have about like, right now the rate at which people are signing up and the rate at which people are dropping off are pretty much the same. Our sales are just like have been consistent for the last couple of months. So yeah, I don't know. And it seems like people on average will be with us will sort of shop consistently for like 6 months or so. And I mean, of course, there's people falling off in there.
Right.
But like that's a lot. Yeah, people are staying in that range. The irony, of course, is that 6 months is like a CSA season.
Yeah, exactly.
So like we just, you know, we'll build this because we go year round. You know, we'll build this year round thing. It's going to be so sophisticated. It's going to solve every problem in the CSA, and we basically just created the most complicated.
So I was going
CSA
to ask the next one was what effect do you see on seasonality? And I understand it's probably a little bit difficult because up until very recently you were marketing yourself as CSA. So people who like would sign up for a CSA are familiar with the model. They're familiar with like the 6-month cycles. So I wonder if part of that is playing into it's more of an acquisition question and a positioning question as opposed to like a model question.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens this fall with it. I think that, I mean, the other thing that we really struggle with is price. You know, sort of like the two biggest reasons people leave are, you know, one, I'm just moving or whatever, and the other is that it's just too expensive. So I think as far as like from a retention basis, solving that is probably the biggest thing we would have to solve to retain more people.
Right.
And also because of the price, we have a number of people who only log on. You know, the average person shops like once every 2 weeks. So certainly we're not replacing your trip to the grocery store. And I think that it's like, oh my God, those strawberries, the best strawberries I've ever had in my entire life. They're gonna make my whatever, but like they're, you know, $9 for a quart or whatever. And so what we're trying to do to get around that is like, all right, well, if we sell you things in bulk, you know, we can give you whatever. So like if you buy 3 pints of blueberries, you get the third one half off, you know, and trying to get creative with that. And that's like our new software, there's a lot of possibility for like these different retention things. So like basic stuff on your third order, you get 10% off or, you know, things like that. Or people can have different membership levels. And so I think that's like, we've just started to tap into that. I think that will be huge.
Discounts, so like, oh, we see you haven't ordered that thing in 3 months.
Yeah.
Maybe try this new thing and you get $8.
Yeah, and I mean, even if someone was like, hey, I'll get a delivery every week, like, oh, cool. we can definitely give you a discount.
Yeah.
Um,
Because I was going to ask, how much of that kind of, projection is value on the other sales arm when you're talking to the providers themselves? Will they kind of, want to wade deeper into the water with you if they can have, some sort of commitment from your customer saying like, yeah, we have these people that want these strawberries like every day or every week this summer, and can you sell that in advance to the customer and then also to the provider itself?
Yeah, that's been a huge component of our sourcing strategy. So we've been working with predominantly with this farmer named Ruben out towards Lancaster. He's an Amish guy, and I've been working with him now since I was working at the nonprofit. So like I think it's 5 years. And every year we plan with him. Okay, this is what we're going to grow, and we actually agree on prices. Which he really likes because otherwise you're going to the produce auction, and sometimes you do really well and he'll get more money than what we're giving him. But sometimes he'll go there and he won't even cover the cost of the box to put it in. And so what he started doing is he started organizing his neighbors, and so now we'll go out there twice a year and meet with like his neighbors who are also all Amish, and it feels like that scene from the Hobbit, where Gandalf is like going with all the dwarves. And you go there and literally like.
I mean, you're tall, but you're not that tall.
I got the grid. Yeah, right. But yeah, you go there. There's horse and buggies, and they all come up and they have their big jackets, and like. But yeah, anyway, and so that's a huge part of it. And then like being like, hey, we're gonna agree on this. Can you agree on this pricing with us? And then also we've gotten them to grow new product, which has been really interesting because it's like the first year we were like, here's these 15 things you've never grown before, and they're like, you want us to grow edible soybeans? And we're like, yeah, it's called edamame. People are actually really into it, But now people are growing a lot more things, and we actually did a crowdsourced farming. So it was like we gave our members like 10 crops that vote on 3 that you want to see, and now Ruben's growing those 3. And so that's cool too because it's like. And then people get little updates of like, here's the purple sprouting broccoli, like in baby form.
That's so cool.
Are people reacting like positively to that, like, communication of their investment? Like, I bothered to vote, and now I'm getting like updates on this. Like, is that? Like...
I don't know. Yeah, you get some people being like, "This is so fun, I love it." It's hard to know like how much is that keeping somebody with us.
Yeah.
I think that it's important, and I mean, ultimately, the number one reason people sign up with us is to support local farmers and for that connection, and so that's part of that.
Do you know the number one reason why people drop off? Because the 6 month thing, yeah, it's the duration of the season. But if you could maybe retain a quarter of the people who drop off, that would really change it up. Because acquisition is more expensive than retention. For sure.
Yeah.
And the thing. I was a member of a CSA in Seattle, and the big issue for us is it was just the 2 of us. There wasn't anybody in our neighborhood who wanted to participate, so we would have to drive and give away half a box of stuff every week. And the retention thing for us was the recipes. It was like, oh, this is new, don't know how to cook it, but there's a whole bunch of recipes in here. But it ended up being an issue for us around food waste. We just got to the point where we were wasting so much that it just didn't feel right to keep up with the subscription.
I think we've solved that.
Yeah.
I think we've solved that because you can deselect whatever, so you can just be like, hey, this week actually we don't need any more produce. We're not going to get an order. That's different than a lot of CSAs. Right. Or just like we're going to get a bunch of Cinnabons,
You seem to be pushing this.
Yeah. Not a reaction.
We have one last person that I want to have go before our hour is up, and I don't want anybody to spend any extra time here out of their workday. Dylan, I think you're going to hang out for just a little bit after this, if that's all right.
Absolutely.
So if anyone has more questions for Dylan, I would love to talk more about maybe indie hall pickups, and stuff like that. But I have one last person, so a round of applause for Dylan. Thank you for joining us. The last person is someone I'm putting on the spot, Evan.
Sorry.
Putting on the spot right now. There's somebody here with us that you might not have met. His name is Evan. and he's going to be hanging with us a little bit during the summer at least. And I thought this would be a perfect opportunity. Are you going to be with us for town hall today?
Yes.
Kick-ass. So this is a perfect first opportunity to introduce yourself before we even get to town hall. You take it away.
All right, so my name's Evan Wilson. I'm 16 years old. I'm going to be a senior at Penn Charter. It's a school in East Falls.
Where's your dog?
He's here. He's been laying on his foot.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, so this summer I'm going to be with Indie Hall. My big thing is entrepreneurship. So I'm starting a company called The Makery. It's a way for high school students like me who are interested in quote-unquote real-world things to get linked up with local startups and companies and creators and innovators, because I saw that there was this contrast between this growing scene in Philly. Like, there are a lot of startups starting up, and a lot of companies growing and a lot of creative people, but it's not really getting to our youth. People come out of high school, and 52% of teens, and I think that number is higher, but 52% of teens have no idea what they want to do with their life after they get out of high school. And they've already spent, if they're 18 years old, they've already spent 10% of their life inside of the classroom, not even counting homework and other things. So what the Makery does, it's a platform that enables students to get sort of like a freelance platform, sort of like Fiverr meets Khan Academy, or something where people are able to learn different skills that they need. So an example is if someone wants to, if someone needs a certain amount of posts for their social media, this student will be able to get linked up with that company through this platform, and if they don't know how to do it, they get walked through it by us. And the more projects they complete, it contributes to their portfolio. And the way that we gamify it is they get to a certain level. The higher level they are, the more complicated projects they're. So right now, this summer, I'm really working on expanding my network and trying to get. I have a lot of teens that are interested in it, just because I'm a teen, I know people. But I need to expand my network of innovators and local startups and companies that would be willing to participate in the platform.
So you charge the market rates for the service, or Fiverr type rates? Or?
Yeah. So the way that I've been trying to understand the rates are just based on the startups and what they are willing to do, because it really depends on that market. And I have to talk to more and understand that market a little bit better before I try to set rates like Fiverr or other freelance platforms.
Mm-hmm.
So what is your plan to do here?
With Indie Hall, so with Indie Hall, I just really want to get involved in the space, and this is a really cool opportunity because I just hear what everyone's working on, and just help Indie Hall do what Indie Hall does, and see what you all are working on, and try to make those connections and try to make this.
What help do you need? What help do you need?
The biggest help that I need is really just having a network of people to reach out to and sort of understand these problems that companies have and that real world people have, because I have a lot of ideas, but ideas are ideas. I need to go out and test it. So that's my main priority this summer, is just set it up so that I can launch a platform having tested it out and seen what the market actually wants and how I can bring value to people.
That's awesome. I'm going to ask you about your Olympic weightlifting. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, so I've been weight training since I was in 8th grade, and then a little over a year ago I started Olympic weightlifting, which is you compete in meets. It's the snatch and the clean and jerk, and I'm 69 kilogram. In the 69 kilogram weight class, and I'm trying to compete in youth nationals next year. So I train 4 to 5 times a week. And, yeah. So I do that at school with the weight trainer that we have at school.
It's funny that you started this business for kids who don't know what they want to do, because you seem to really know what you want to do.
Yeah, and that actually,
well, it's not the blind leading the blind, right?
Well, that actually ties into it a lot, because I had the privilege of having a cousin who's in the sort of startup space. She quit her job like last year, and what I'm trying to do is actually really central to my story, because she had a marketing firm that she was setting up, and she wanted free labor. So then she just texted me, and she's like, all right, I have to do X, Y, and Z for this client. If you do this, I'll give you like $20 just under the table. And from that, I learned a lot about social media marketing and all these other things. And I realized that talking to my friends, they have no idea what they want to do. And if they were given this opportunity to do something, maybe not in marketing, but in other fields, then they would have a better idea of what they want to do or what they don't want to do. So it kind of ties into how I've gotten the privilege to see what I want to do, but a lot of people haven't.
I think sometimes you're limited by what your parents do or who you know, so it's cool that you thought of this idea to really kind of spur those other connections, because by the time you get to college, you have to make those decisions of where you want to focus. Yeah. I think it's amazing that, high schoolers would be spending time doing something like that, along with, I'm sure, like, trying to be well-rounded and have great grades and all that. But imagine, like, having that experience really is priceless and what could help their future. So bravo to you.
Gwen, you and I were just talking about colleges earlier this morning. It's like getting put into a position where you have to make that decision of like the next 4 years, 4 to 6 to 8 or whatever years, you're just doing the one thing that you want to do. Figure it out now.
Got to be comforting to have some trial and error first.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Could you give us like a walkthrough? Say I'm a new person coming to you, and I'm like, I don't know what I want to do. What's the process to go through it? Like, what would you have a new person coming in trying to figure out their career?
Yeah, so the way that I would do that for teens would be have them select interests, so create a profile or something like that, and have them select interests that they're interested in. That's very understandable for teens. So if you're interested in food, or you're interested in technology, or you're interested in social media, something like that, where someone going in with little knowledge about any field can just see, oh, I sort of like this, so I'm gonna put this as a category that I like in my profile. And from that, they get in their dashboard, they have a list of different projects that they can work on. And through the projects that they work on, then we can sort of match with future projects that are similar to that, or if they're looking for something different, they can go through a different category and find other things that are different.
Where do you get these projects from? Just from outside sources that are offering?
Yeah, so that's the big thing this summer. It's linking up with startups and companies so that I can get the projects from them and sort of translate them into digestible things for teams that we can walk them through. So we haven't launched yet, and that's part of building the platform. My main thing this summer is create a minimum viable product. So take something that I can test, get a handful of startups and a handful of teams, and really just try to figure out how I can create these projects and guide people through them and where the value is found in these companies and startups.
That's awesome. I know myself, I went to a vocational school for the trades, so we had like a co-op program. You get the, it sounds similar to you, you're building, there would be businesses that are looking for people to bring on as interns, or as, maybe even labor to do the work, and, they can, like you said, under the table a little bit, and it gets them in the door to see what that career is like, or what that field is like, whatever it is, and if they don't like it, they can come back and switch programs and try something else. That, I think for me, that was really influential to my life and where I ended up, and ended up in a career, but ended up changing, but it was something that got me to a point where I was stable and successful doing something I was actually interested in. So I think you're doing a great job. Really excited for you.
Jess, your question?
Mine was almost kind of hints and said, how does it really differ from an internship in terms of other than the way that you're getting it? Because when I think about how I figured everything out that I wanted to do, I tried all these different internships until I trial and error. So, I mean, this is kind of a different way of going about it, but I guess I don't see it as a challenge for you is convincing businesses is something slightly different than just getting an intern, especially if you're going to charge or kind of have some level of money exchange. You're going to have trouble convincing, some of these people to be like, spend money on this, and it's different than just getting an intern. And I think you're going to have trouble. You got to find a way to differentiate how this is different.
Well, to that end, just I think if you solve the problem of the vetting process of the people who are wanting to be interns, so that they've already done some sort of assessment, so that they know whether or not a Venn diagram is this is all the shit I'm interested in, and this is the stuff this business is interested in, and there's a big overlap, or there's no overlap. No, you shouldn't go down that path. I think if you could solve that problem for businesses, that's a really big start. I think the other thing I think for many businesses, especially startups that don't necessarily have a good handle on how to craft and define a project for interns to work on. In fact, if you were going to solve any problem, it would be helping a startup say, okay, this is a discrete piece of work you could put interns to, because most startups, they're just moving so quick. It's like, could you do that filing? Or could you learn Ruby on Rails and just do that for us? It's like,
you don't have time to teach.
Yeah. It's that component that you're talking about like translating that into something digestible is the critical missing component, because one of the difficulties, especially for a startup, but really any company, is finding good talent to work on either a project basis or larger, because they don't know what they want, and they certainly don't know how to describe in detail to someone that's interested in what they want.
And the more important stuff is the stuff that they're not inclined to give over to somebody who they don't know and won't trust. It's like, you can do this little thing, rather than, no, this is strategically important to us. We believe you've got the chops to do it.
Yeah. And part of that is the whole idea of building a portfolio. So if your startup was interested in working with a student on a certain project, they could go in their portfolio and see, oh, they did this work for these other people, and they have this in their portfolio. They've done these projects before. I have a certain level of trust in them. And the way that I'm planning on building the sort of basic level knowledge in teams is working with local schools and trying to structure in ways that schools can get involved and use project-based learning to give teens this sort of base level where they can go and explore other things that they're interested in.
Very last question, since we're just a little bit over the hour. What do you do for fun, man?
I thought it was the weightlifting.
That made me stressed out.
So fun for me is a lot of it's just hanging out with friends, normal teenage stuff, and also it's cooking. So I'm really into cooking. I actually started a sort of underground taco company with my friend. It's called Pineapple Express Tacos. Basically every weekend we go and we set up at somebody's house and we just cook. $10 all you can eat. People come, friends, whoever of these people, and they just eat our tacos, hang out. We have speakers, we play good music.
Where do you get your ingredients from? I know a guy.
We usually go down to the Italian market. It's cheap down there, and just so it's just a chill thing we do, and we have fun.
We should have a mule. You should do it here.
Oh,
Definitely. That's a kick-ass idea. All right, the true last question is, what are you going to do when you become president, man?
He's gonna get a dog.
What's that going to be?
Mandatory dog strike.
Everybody's got a dog. All right, everybody say welcome to Evan. Thanks for coming.
And he's for round 2, so this is not the end of the conversation.
Yes.
As we say all the time, it's not the end of the conversation. We're gonna make him do intern stuff, like go get us lunch. But yes, this is the beginning of the conversation, so he will be around. I imagine to also requesting to chat with each of you and maybe have lunch or sit down or whatever. And of course, we'll be here for Town Hall. Last plug, Town Hall tonight, 5:30, here or over Zoom. So have a good rest of your day until then.
Thanks everybody coming.
Thank you.
So Sam, what's your acquisition rate on Town Hall?